Tampa Bay Damage struggled in the prelims at the first event, losing 3 games and looking a bit lackluster. Damage ended up having to play an intense relegation match against Houston Heat. They won that game, thanks in part to a great performance by Jason Edwards. But Damage has been one of the favorites at every PSP event in recent memory for a reason. They field one of the most potent lineups in the game. Considering the team is mostly unchanged since they won the 4th event last year, they will still be a favorite here at the Mid-Atlantic Open. They boast strength and versatility in every position. They have a strong snake-side push with Brian Smith, Keith Brown, and Timmy Probst. A top-level attack on the D side with Jacob Edwards and Chad Boucher, and new pickup Dalton Vanderbilt. And they have one of the best back players in the past 10 years, Jason Edwards. Core members Dan Holiday and Rumzi Al-Yusuf should be back in the lineup after missing the first event. For opposing teams, it's tough to scout Damage because they adjust their playing style to suit their opposition and throw different looks with their deep roster of attackers on either side. But Damage should be out for blood after their 7th place finish in Dallas. So look for them to excel here at the Mid-Atlantic Open on this gunfight-heavy layout. upTon 187 cRew stormed into the Challengers division in Dallas and went undefeated until they met Art Chaos in the finals. They lost to Chaos in that Challengers final game, but they are back in the Champions division. 187 went back and forth between the 2 pro divisions last season, proving they were too good to be held down, but not good enough to hang with the 10 best teams in the world on a consistent basis. They now have a chance to prove that they deserve to stay in the fight against the best teams. The 187 lost Nick Laval at the end of last season. The good news for 187 fans is they still have a great roster full of hardworking talent that just keeps getting better and better. Eddie Painter is looking polished and really stepped up in the first event, as his timing and gunfighting are becoming top-notch. Dan Zaleski is emerging as a high-level first attacker, and Max Traylor is one of their best all-around players. Look for Matt Derula, Nick Roberts, and old-school vet Thomas Mantoni to clock in and help upTon 187 cRew in their dream to win a PSP Champions Division tournament.
All right, we are back. Getting ready to start the pro bracket in the afternoon here. First game is going to be Damage taking on 187 cRew. As we start the afternoon bracket up here, Todd Martinez, joined by Ryan Greenspan, 4-0 in the prelims. Did a good job handling that division. Everybody thought that was going to be the tough meat grinder division. All the rest of the team seemed to be having a lot of trouble on this field, but you guys powered your way through it, 4-0. First seed going into Sunday's competition. How you feeling out here, Ryan?
We feel like we did a good job, just like you said. You know, like the field feels good, and the team's stoked. You know, it's always good to go on to Sunday playing 4-0. The only scary thing about that sometimes is if you go into the Sunday round and you're like, we've been challenged. Yeah. I don't want to say we haven't been challenged, but you know what I'm saying, Matty.
Well, Todd, yeah, absolutely. You know exactly where you're coming from. You guys have been, I would say you have been challenged. I'd say you're passing those challenges, but it's always a little scary. Just like you want to be that team that throws down, scraps their way in, ready to fight, just hungry and hard, or do you want to be that team that's like everything's working, we don't even really know what to fix. Our shots are on, we're shooting guys, we're living. You know, so there's nothing to fix. But what do we always say about that, Todd?
Would you rather be the team that goes in that got super challenged, or would you have to be the team that went in and everything's working? I'm like, or has the test, and I was like, well, I'd always like to be the team that went in and everything was great and didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Well, that's always the fun way. You're like, oh, dude, no problem. But you know, we've been on the same team. You know, squeaking in on Sunday and like fighting our way out on Sunday, and then who doesn't want, you know?
Well, and that's the thing is the story was always, hey, you don't. And no one ever wants Dynasty to make Sunday. So when you guys are on that edge and you make it in, notoriously, that's when you guys would win the tournaments. Yeah. It's not necessarily. I mean, you've won tournaments stomping people out the entire way too. But that was always one of those things. So I totally understand where you're coming from. So here we go on the breakout. Tampa Bay Damage on your right-hand side, and here we go. So on the breakout, now on the flip side, you're looking at upTon 187 cRew losing Dan Zaleski. Looking like he's trying to check his pack. Hit was on the other side though. Look at this big run through up the center. Dalton Vanderbilt launches, taking 2 out. Awesome move by Dalton.
Yeah, right up the center. That's that move that, you know, we're just Oliver's right here on wanting to do that, and he's like, oh, you know, we're out there on the field, and it's like, okay, hey Ryan, what? Yeah, I want you to do it. I want you to do it. I want you to do it. I'm like, dude, Oliver, I want you to do it because that is your forte. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that center, like I was saying yesterday on the webcast, that center is wide open.
It really is, man. You guys have been one of the teams. We just saw Dalton run through, beautiful run through, untouched all the way into the back line for upTon 187 cRew, and that run through was also there in Dallas. Completely different field layout, but that just goes to show you how, how you can't ever ignore the center of the field. It always has to be a part of your repertoire. If you aren't at least constantly looking for, like you said, Oliver's always looking for that move. That's why he's able to take that move. If you're not even looking for it, it's never going to be an option for you.
Yeah, and you know, and the guys that do a really good job of it, you know, we watched the Dynasty games earlier. It's like when Oliver goes up there, he's reading the situation, he's seeing the field, and you know, in that game right there, Dalton just saw the fact that 187 lost their wide guy on the Dorito side, then they lost their wide guy on the Snake side. Dalton dives in there. Damage has always been a team that's traditionally really good at communicating. He hears what's going on from his back players behind him. Edwards fills out to the Dorito, gives him some protection, and there goes Dalton right through the middle, and nobody picks him up as he runs past the Snake side can and is already shooting the guy in the can and then turns and shoots the guy in the tower.
Yeah, so it's beautiful, man. And the thing is, what I want to say too is that, you know, yeah, a lot of teams are getting to that center 50, but that's like, okay, that's center play 101. You know, right now, all of them, we've seen it all year long. He's at like 504. You know, it's that next level, that graduate level course of running through the center. And we've seen certain guys we see all the time do it. A-Rod from the Ironman does it a lot. Colt Roberts from X Factor. Oliver Lang has been able to do that. There's certain guys that have that unique ability to be able to see those variables and then just be fearless on the run through.
I felt like A-Rod really didn't get a whole lot of opportunities to play that spot this weekend.
Yeah.
You know, for the Ironman, I only saw him in the A maybe two or three times all weekend. And, you know, it seemed like he was always playing that position where he was the second guy outside on the Dorito side, and there was already somebody else that was making that move, or their game plans weren't really set up for that. But, you know, I thought that would have been a great move, you know, for him, something to set up for the Ironman, but, you know, it just didn't really happen for them.
Well, and then also kind of speaks to the difficulty. Look, just because it's possible doesn't mean it's easy, and that's one of those things. So even a guy like A-Rod, who knows that move and has been able to do it in tournaments past, wasn't really able to do it here. It's not, I mean, we see a lot of guys get up there, but again, that's 101. It's much harder to read the variables and make that run through. So now let's see, 187 switches sides. They're going to be on their right. Tampa Bay Damage on your left. They have a 1-point advantage.
Yeah, once again, 187 loses their body, going out wide on the Dorito side, trying to go to the corner this time, and again attacking the middle. Tampa Bay Damage. Jason Edwards goes up in that A right away, and 187 player was up in that can in the middle on the Dorito side, bails all the way back to the Dorito side tower to double up.
Yeah, that wasn't the right move. You know, he realized there was pressure right in front of him. You need to go get that guy, you know, and we had talked about that in our last, you know, reviewing Friday's games, is when that guy's up in the center, you need to get him off the field, because once you bunker him, he doesn't want to go back up there again because he just felt the heat, you know, so.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you give it to him a little bit.
It's that old school pay the toll. You know, you go up there, shoot him 5 or 6 times, he's going to think twice about it the next time.
Exactly.
So here we go now, 187, losing 2 bodies, Matt Derula and Greg Lazat coming off, but Tampa Bay Damage has lost 3 as Max Traylor, Eddie Painter, and Matt Derula combined for those 3 kills. So just 2 players left alive for Damage. This is upTon 187 crew's chance, but stuck in the center of the field. They have a little bit of a wide area on that D side of the field. And then now look at this, Keith Brown, even though they're down bodies, still able to get into Snake 1. That widens the field for Tampa Bay, and that's going to make it much more difficult here for upTon 187 crew to utilize this 1 body advantage that they've created for themselves.
Yeah, he's got to be careful when he's over here. You know, like you said, he widened the field, which is definitely what you want to do. And he's got the sidelines coaching him, helping him out, but he needs to realize that if he's going to come up here, production is valuable, but he needs to realize what's more important, him alive or them dead.
I'm going to guess you're going to say him alive, and I would agree with you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Especially with the lead right now. And because
on this field.
Yeah, and you know how people get, they get a little antsy. It's like, okay, we got this 1 body advantage. I got to do something with it. Next thing you know, guy makes a small mental mistake, and if you're looking for it, you can capitalize on it.
And Zaleski, valuing his life as well, bails out of that Snakeside can into the Snakeside Temple, as Keith Brown was about a bump and a wrap away from owning him in the back. But coming out to the side now, that looks like
Eddie Painter.
Eddie Painter. He's going to come out. He's going to be protected now because he's got Dan Zaleski a little bit wider than he is. So Painter's going to put the pressure on Brown and help Zaleski get out, who's now in Snake 1, taking off up the field. That looks like Max Traylor over there, jumping into Dorito 2 from Dorito 1. Timmy Propst alive for Damage over there on the Dorito side as well, with Keith Brown here in Snake 1.
And it looks like Keith Brown's actually out of paint right now, so he's just going to have to budget what he has. And that's a big issue with a lot of the front players right now.
Yeah.
Is there this field, Oliver's carrying 12 pods. You know, Yoshi's carrying 12 pods on him. I mean, I got 9 on me. I can't stand it.
Matt Sossman on their team, 15
pods. That's like Skinny Kevin back in the day.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, right.
But what's happening is you're going to see these front guys that are going to run out of paint really quickly. We're having Kyle Spica bring 7 or 8 pods on his back.
Well, you know, maybe that Keith Brown just got shot, so maybe he had sensed got a little mentally frantic there because realizing, okay, I'm out of paint now. Okay, and then you start kind of head checking a little bit more because you're getting a little nervous, and he caught one. So here comes Zaleski trailer, stalking down the D side of the field, trying to take out Timmy Probst, and he's able to do it, trades out with them. So here comes upTon 187 Crew with 15 minutes and 30 seconds to go. They put the first point on the board for them. Eddie Painter doing a spin, getting checked out by Zaleski, making extra sure that he is clean. Don't want to have a dirty hang. So upTon 187 Crew, man. 187, they had an awesome game against X Factor yesterday as they defeated the world champs 5-2, proving, hey, we can hang in this division. If we can beat X Factor, we should be able to beat anybody. But we'll see today. You know, we're starting the afternoon's competition in the Champions Division. Next up after this will be X Factor and Impact, and then we're going to say goodbye to Todd. Todd will go down and coach Vicious against the team that we're watching right now, 187 Crew. And Impact, Damage, and Vicious X Factor. So tied up at 1-1. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back here, 2014 PSP Mid-Atlantic Open. I'm Matty Marshall with Ryan Greenspan and Todd Martinez. Tie game right now. So Ryan, this afternoon bracket, I mean, you got to see some of it yesterday. What were your thoughts kind of on how all these teams were matching up together? You know,
I'm glad that I get to watch, you know, from one of the better vantage points on the field.
Best seat in the house.
Best seat in the house, actually. And this is definitely a slower bracket. You know, we touched on it at the beginning saying that our bracket was the grinders bracket. You know, I think that a lot of teams and a lot of people and internet people especially figured and assumed that Art Chaos was going to be the team to beat, you know, and they weren't. So that kind of threw our bracket a little bit into disarray, a tiny bit.
Yeah,
because they went 0-4, and no one really expected that.
We were talking about this earlier. Why do you think Art Chaos had such trouble on this field layout?
It's because they're not a slow-playing team. You know, what was it, the Battle of Stalingrad? You know, those guys are going in. If they're not running forward, they're getting shot coming backwards. You know, and I don't want to say that's the mentality of in Russia, but I played out there, and
you play with the Polar Bears.
Yeah, I play with the Polar Bears. I've been out to Russia a couple times, and those guys are like attack, attack,
and then attack again.
Yeah, and I keep going, man. So their defensive skills aren't, the slow gameplay is not their forte, and obviously we saw that out here. So they're playing for relegation tomorrow against teams coming out of this division, which ends up being the grinder division. And I think that, you know, all these teams have a likely chance of being able to beat them.
So now a move made by upTon 187 Crew up into the center. It's Greg Lizotte, their utility man. And Greg Lizotte, very versatile guy, now up in that crucial 50-yard line fortress as Ryan was just breaking down earlier. So, you know, step one is get there. Step two, try to get some production from there. And then as, you know, act two of the game, of the match actually kind of breaks down, you know, each one of these points, man, it's 3-act structure. Yep. And as things start to get complex, as bodies drop, as guns switch sides and guys start to drop lanes, and those opportunities present themselves, you can do a lot from that spot.
Oh, yeah. And the one thing about it is the way that each position is structured. So there's a tall cake, a little cake, and then the corner of the X. So there's paint bouncing all over that place. So if you get in there undetected, it's going to be great because you can surprise this snake can guy. But, you know, if people know that you're in there, because I've played it on both sides, everybody's shooting at you because they don't want your head to pop over the top. I played this can looking inside, and there he goes. He's walking off because he was trying to pick a battle that he didn't need to pick, you know?
Yeah.
Once there's paint coming in there, just kind of weather the storm, man. Let those guys have to come in and get you out because at best or at worst, if they come to get you, it's going to be a trade out. you know?
Yep.
So at least you're coming off of somebody. But the second you start trying to gun battle 5 different guys out of that center spot, that's when it comes trouble.
Yeah, and now this gives a breather for Tampa Bay. Neither team with the lead right now, but Tampa Bay is still stuck doubled up in that stand-up temple. And but now they don't have to worry about Lazard in there. It gives them a little bit of freedom to gunfight and then start looking to make moves. Oh, and it looks like Ramzi Al-Yusuf getting shot out of his spot in that stand-up. So that spot's a double-edged sword, man. You can get those 2 guns and watch those lanes, but I've watched so many guys die out of that spot and speak of the devil and then turn around, and Thomas Mantoni at least El-Yusuf had the excuse that he was doubling up in there. Mantoni just getting straight flat out shot out of that spot.
Yeah, man, I feel bad for the guys that have to play in those spots because it's not a glorified spot by any means.
You're the linebacker, man.
You're the linebacker, exactly.
No, I'm sorry, you're the lineman. You know, you're
block,
yeah, whatever. Whatever the metaphor of football where you're doing a lot of work and not getting a lot of credit. Says those guys, those are the 15 pod guys. Those are the guys that are constantly rolling their guns and talking it up, and they are shooting bodies. It's a very important spot on the field. So right now, Tampa Bay Damage has made it into the 50-yard line. Jason Edwards is right behind Brian Smith. So Brian Smith now is going to head check. Oh, Brian Smith gets shot on his head check, so that is going to even up the body count here.
Wow, that's something you don't see very often. Normally Brian Smith is right on point with that first snapshot right there, taking one in the face, but he's still got some backup as Jason Edwards is in the snake one with him. He's still got Daniel Holiday alive and Dalton Vanderbilt over there on the Dorito one with him. For up to 187, Max Traylor is over there in the Dorito 2. Zaleski down here in Snake 1 with Matt Derula behind him in the corner. So more of a spread for Tampa Bay Damage, more of an advantage on the Snake side for Upton 187 right now.
Yeah, this is a drill that actually we run quite often. Is the 3-on-3 and figure out where the body advantage is and how to exploit that. You know, if Zaleski gets up into this 50 spot, Snake, yeah, he puts pressure on Dalton, but it also might bait Edwards to come get him.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then you have the whole tape. So there's some good strategies you can pull out of this rather than just shooting all your paint and trying to.
Well, Edwards is backed up. You can see there, top right-hand portion of your screen. And he backed all the way up out of Snake 1, then gets into the Snake 2, and was looking for an angle on the D side of the field. Needs to be a little careful, though.
Well, Holiday has not looked towards the Snake side at all. So if Zaleski wants to make this move, then he pretty much can make that move whenever he wants. Because Jason Edwards is looking on the inside, looking across the field a lot. As soon as Zaleski takes one cut inside, he can dive into that 50 Snake and kind of force Edwards' hand like you were saying, Ryan.
Yeah, and possibly get a shot on that cannon, number 23 right there you're looking at.
On the way.
You know, he's got his back turned to this side. No one's, like Todd said, looking at the Snake. So if he was able to make that move, he might be able to get a quick kill and then bait Edwards to come get him. But it looks like he's just able to play pretty freely over on the Snake side. 187 crew needs to get something together on this Snake side. They need to get their corner guy more involved in the game, and you know, he might be out of paint or low on paint or whatever it is. Yeah, it looks like they're about to do a little maneuver over here. He's crawling back, leaving his gun on the ground.
Well, like you're talking about
Nice
this
toss.
being
Yeah, that was a great toss.
we're talking about this being the grinder division. You know, we end up with a 1-1 game here. Nobody wants to give anything up because we've played 2 points in 10 and a half minutes. So the fear that everybody's having down here is that if I give up a body, we're going to lose this point, and then we're going to have to play another 7-minute point. And if we lose a body early there, then, you know, we could be playing for a really long time, down 1 point, trying to force ourselves into guns.
Right.
So, I mean, this is the exact same situation that, you know, Vicious ended up in yesterday with Impact to start the game. And our first point of the match was like a 12-minute point. And it ended up with, you know, a bunch of guys, no paint, no air. Here comes Jason Edwards jumping out over into the mini race bunker, outset from the Snake in between the 50.
So he's trying to get something going, you know, and this could be the same thing where he's out of paint. So there's only one thing he thinks he can do, and that's let me try to win the game. And Marcelo had a fantastic game against us.
Yeah, he did.
I think he might have shot all 5 of us.
Well, he shot 4 of you and caused that penalty. So he pretty much caused all 5 deaths.
Yeah. So and that came about because we played a little sloppy, but we also ran out of paint. We were playing stupid.
Shot in the back, right there, trying to get a little bit too creative.
And they lose Dalton at the exact same time.
Oh, the door. Yeah, Ryan, the door has now opened for Upton. 187 Kuhn, you can see the back guy for, who is that? So Matt Jarula smartly tells Zaleski, he's like, hey, we just got 2. Simmer down.
Simmer down.
Yeah, say, calm down. It's 3-on-1 right now. And then as soon as he told Zaleski that, Zaleski kind of settled into his bunker, started a head check, and they blew the horn. So Tampa Bay Damage forced to concede that one. And here comes upTon 187 Crew, who already took down a giant in San Antonio X Factor in their first game yesterday. And now out here with 8 minutes and 24 seconds left, up by 1. So, man, it's but you know, still a game, of course. But the thing is that we're probably going to see another long point. So look for these guys to stack pods up on their back and head out here to play a long one. Both teams will be at full strength here. Let's check out a replay from that last one. So you're looking at Jarula, and that's Jarula trying to get out. And Jarula started in that temple. Jarula ended up behind Zaleski. And that's one of those guys I keep talking about on upTon 187 Crew. I really think Matt Jarula's the reason why upTon 187 Crew is starting to win games here in the Champions Division is because they're diversifying their attack. They have a deeper roster now. So, you know, really good job there by Matt Jarula to get out wide. Good job by Zaleski as well. We're going to be right back with some more of this Tampa Bay Damage upTon 187 Crew match. Stick around.
Shooting on the break is what I do. The Vanquish has a pressure-balanced spool valve firing engine. This makes the Vanquish smooth, accurate, and consistent. A recipe for domination on the break. My name is Travis Lemansky. I play for Team Infamous, and the Vanquish takes my game to another level.
I'm here with Max Trailer in 187's pit. That was a great play that just happened. You guys are up 1 point, 2-1. What were you thinking when you were on the Dorito set and you knew they had someone in the snake?
Don't die. Wait for him to bump that gap, which he did, and then he backed right up into it and gave me a good shot on him. But 3-3 tie game, not going to do anything stupid, and luckily they pushed into our guns.
It's a tough field. I mean, there are a lot of blind spots. How easy was it to see the snake from where you were sitting?
Not very. All I could hear was my coaches telling me where he was in the snake, and I can't see him until he crosses that gap. So I started paying attention to him when I saw him at the 50 snake, but I can't see him until then.
Well, it paid off. It's 2-1 right now. 187 is up 1 point. We'll see if they can keep the lead.
Yeah, so, man, upTon 187 Crew continues to impress out here. Again, still got 8 minutes and 24 seconds to go. Tampa Bay Damage really hungry to kind of get back into the top level mix, Ryan. They didn't have a good event at the first one in Dallas. I had to play in that relegation match against Houston Heat. They ended up winning that match because Jason Edwards stepped up and shot 5 guys in the last point. You know, obviously they had a lot more games before that, but it was Jason Edwards who put the exclamation point on the win. But what do you think about Damage? You know, Damage is pretty much, they have that awesome roster, tons of stars on the team. They've won lots of turns before. They won the West Coast Open last year, but they struggled at World Cup. They struggled in the first event, and now they're out here playing against upTon 187 Crew, and they're down by 1.
You know, Damage is always going to be a good team. They've been a good team for a really long time, and honestly, this is more like their style of play. We played them in the finals here last year and kind of beat them at their own game, and then they started winning by getting to become a little more aggressive. Now, why they're not performing as well as a lot of people expect, you know, it could have a a combination of their lineup or whatever it is, you know, because you've seen that. Just because you have a really strong, solid lineup on paper doesn't necessarily mean that they always gel together properly in those exact spots.
And they have switched the rosters slightly. Core has remained the same, but they lost Jacob Edwards, and they picked him back up. They had Rainey Stenzik, but then they lost him. You know, they've been going kind of back and forth with some guys, but the strength is in their core. It's always the strength of a team, but you're not going to win tournaments if you don't get those other guys that you bring in to play well, too. That's one of the reasons you guys are strong right now, because you brought in Spica, you brought in Harmon. They've been contributing. But your core's playing great, too.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and the biggest thing is, here you go. You watch Dalton got up in that center, and now he comes around, and then, doesn't get Dalton.
But, Ryan, that's what you're talking about. You just get up in there and play tight, and then if the guy's going to come get you, that was Matt Jarula trying to swing in through. Oh, and it looks like a major penalty going to be assessed. Was that on Jarula?
I mean, Jarula didn't shoot his gun. Dalton's still there.
And here comes Dalton, going to play off this advantage. Going to run through, flip around. He takes out one. He gets mowed down. Still, I think he got Max Trailer too.
Well, actually, what it looked like is whoever's in this Dorito or the Snakeside can, Zaleski might have shot his own guy because he saw Dalton making that move and started shooting at him, and might have shot his Dorito corner guy.
Yeah, maybe he did.
That actually happened to me in the X also. I think it's one of our own guys shot me in the back of the head when Carl Makowski slid under the X to try to get me.
Oh, that was crazy. You mean dove underneath the X?
Dove under the X. His gun got stuck on the ground.
Have you seen that replay?
No.
I was going to say, that looked pretty wild. I was like, I can't believe Carl shot you. I was like, how did he do that? He did it to Marcelo over here, too.
Really?
I mean, he launched from this wing over here, went underneath the X and shot Marcelo out of that can. I was like, where did that come from?
Oh, so Damage going to win this point to tie it up here at 2, but then I see a yellow flag be thrown by one of the referees. I don't know if that was a pit penalty or what. Bench penalty on maybe upTon 187 crew, and still a minute, and so Eddie Painter, so it looks like Darula did get that penalty, so Darula draws a major, and Eddie Painter got pulled on the penalty. That really hurt upTon 187 crew, and it's going to continue to hurt him because you don't want to give Damage any advantages, and they do have one right now with 1 minute and 4 seconds going to be on that major penalty. So let's check out a replay here. So we're looking at the pits. There's X Factor getting ready to roll for their next one. So here we go on this replay, and here comes the attack from Darula. So it's tough to tell from this angle. We don't know if maybe he took a shot before he actually passed that 50-yard line and then continued his run. But that's tough, man, because if you're running full bore and you take a hit, I don't know, let's look at it again. Let me guys know if you see any hits here.
He definitely got shot.
Yeah, he got shot, but he doesn't shoot Dalton. And from what my understanding is, because the refs have come up to me and said, you know, if someone spins or if the guy shot, they go, "Did you get shot?" And I'm like, "No." And then they say, "Okay, well, it's not a penalty on the other guy then." So if he didn't shoot Dalton, then that shouldn't have been. I mean, maybe it shouldn't have been a penalty.
I don't think that should have been a major.
But
because Dalton didn't even flinch. He definitely didn't put a ball on Dalton because Dalton didn't even flinch.
It was interesting what Dalton just said, too. He's like, hey, tell him, extra smart, extra smart. So not only play smart out here, but as we see these long points, you need to, it's not just, hey, just play smart. You need to play extra smart out there. And it seems simple, but, you know, I mean, look at what Dynasty did. You guys went 4-0 for a reason, and that's because you guys were playing extra smart, too. And we've seen Tampa Bay Damage do that like we've talked about in the past. What do you think about this also, Ryan, and maybe Todd, is that, you know, Damage has been playing at such a high level for so long, and we've all been in that position. It's hard to maintain that drive and that intensity. Oh, and it looks like upTon 187 crew not able. No, they have 2 penalties.
Yeah, 2 penalties.
Oh, they got that bench penalty as well.
And they were a little messed up in the box there, but look at this. This is Damage up in the rocket right there in the X or the A or whatever we're calling it these days, and look for him to get a place. Now look at how differently he plays from the way that Dalton plays. You know, Dalton's kind of searching around for kills a little bit more, and he's a little more jittery up in that X, you know. And this is where you need to capitalize on the guys doubled up in this can, because you really, essentially, you cannot double up in this can if there's a guy in that X. So there's 20 seconds on the penalty for 187, and they're going to come out of the box. And that's another good thing about this field is if you have a penalty, it's not that difficult to burn it off.
And it's also not that difficult to get out as long as there's a little space for you.
And Zaleski and Darula both getting shot at the same time. Here comes Holiday down the middle.
And it looks like there's another body's going to come out of the box. So they're going to get both of their guys out. Yeah. Three damage guys standing at the center 50.
Well, hey, they're able to burn those penalties down. So even on the 2-man power play here, Damage does score it, but they couldn't do it fast enough to keep any of those penalties on the board. Well, the minor would have come off anyway, but the major would have stayed on. So Damage is now going to go up 1 with 5 minutes and 23 seconds to play. The score will be 3-2. Nice work by Jacob Edwards up in that center. Timmy Probst, Jason Edwards, and Keith Brown to finish off that point as they were all alive. Dan Holiday, only player shot there in that point for Tampa Bay Damage. So this is getting interesting already. Next up is X Factor and Impact. What do you think about that game, Todd?
I don't know, man. X Factor, they didn't look very solid yesterday, you know, in those long points. Impact, you know, they're very content to sit in their bunkers and shoot a ton of paint, and, you know, really didn't play all that aggressively yesterday. I mean, they won one game 2-1, but they also beat up cRew 6-1 pretty bad. So I don't know, when we played them, you know, it was a game just like this, super long points, and, you know, nobody really willing to give much up. So I don't know. We're going to see. If X Factor plays like they did yesterday, it's not going to be a good day for X Factor.
Well, if they play like they did yesterday, they're going to be playing tomorrow morning in a relegation game.
Yeah, but I mean, X Factor is also a very resilient team. You know, they're good at going back and making adjustments and, you know, coming out with a new attitude, as, you know, we saw World Cup last year and the Dallas event where they had to fight back from several deficits. So, you know, we'll see if X Factor, if they're going to bring it today or if they're just not going to be able to figure it out. Impact, like I said, you know, they're very content to play these very slow, long points and shoot tons of paint and basically do whatever they got to do to get wins. So,
what do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. They've been taught how to play, you know, coming up the ranks for so long, and they know how to play both ways. And I mean, how many pods does Dave Baines carry?
Yeah, this is kind of the way that Impact plays.
485.
Yeah. He's probably got a spare tank tucked in his jersey pocket. So we see 187 just cruising out there. Now that was actually major for 187. That is not good. I was going to say that you have a huge disadvantage for those looking back at from home. The two sides of the field are so completely different. It's a yin and a yang, honestly. The angles are all the same, but running on this wet side, which is where 187 is breaking out of right now,
swamp side,
is so difficult to play. Every time that you dive, you're pretty much every bit of your equipment kind of is getting ready to go down, everybody's seen it. You know, it shows for dramatic effects. You know, when guys are sliding into these spots, but
makes for great pitchers later on.
That's what I've been told too. Yeah. So look, here
comes Jason
Damage
Edwards.
coming up the center, but he kind of gets caught right there. These guys can hold out. It's 2-on-4. They're burning some time. Oh, shot another player, so it's 3-on-2 right now. Oh, that was a pretty good move. He got in there pretty sneakily. He needs to.
Well, he had no idea that Jacob Edwards had moved.
is on their side of the field.
But they're still taking time off that penalty.
Yeah, this isn't bad.
And then Mantoni going to get taken out as well. So,
well, look at that. They burned off 1:05 off of the major. They're down by 2 points. This is not necessarily where you want to be with 4 minutes left in this game. You know, this is a tough choice, because now you have to kind of put on that extra gear and try to push it, which, you know, as everybody's seen, it's really difficult to do out here.
Yeah, well, Damage was 1-0-1 heading into this match. They had a tie, a win, and no losses.
Okay.
And upTon 187 crew, they beat X Factor, and then they lost big to Impact, so they're 1-1. So let's also, hey man, you definitely want to sign up early for the next event. This event sold out. Next event for sure is going to sell out. It's the Chicago Open at CPX Sports. I mean, that's one of the best fields in the world, and also the second biggest tournament of the year every year. So the fact that we had 181 teams at this event, yeah. So you really make sure to go to PSP events and get your team in the fight and do it early, so you secure a spot at one of the best events in the world, man. And always looking forward to Chicago. It's a fun time and at a great field. So here we go. 4 minutes and 5 seconds left in this match. Still 55 seconds to go on that penalty for upTon 187 crew. And we are going to be back right after this. Heading right into this next point, score 4-2. Can upTon 187 crew down a body fight back here? And it looks like they get 4 out alive. Tampa Bay Damage drops a body though, so no one on the snake side right now. For Tampa Bay Damage, the body count is now even.
So this is where they can kind of maybe get into the game. If he can get across into the snake by putting in that tall tempo is what really slows you down. So now 187 making it out, making a move on that Dorito side. Ref's checking him out, making sure he's clean. Doesn't want to get another major right now, because that would definitely seal his fate. But this is what they're looking at right now. If he gets out here on this snake side, that's going to be That's going to be a huge move, and it's gonna really hurt Damage, and possibly get them in for that, you know, in the right time frame, you know, because they had 4 minutes. Essentially, they need to score, you know, those 2 minute points.
And here about to get their body out of the box. See if he can come get somewhere alive.
He does. Eddie Painter doubling up right now in that center stand-up temple. So now full complement of players for upTon 187 crew. It's 4-on-5 as Brian Smith got shot early by Dan Zaleski on the field for upTon 187 crew. Eddie Painter, Dan Zaleski, Greg Lazat, Matthew Drula, and Max Trailer. Good full team effort for them too. Zaleski with 3 kills, Drula 3, Trailer 4, and look at this, another body drops off as Dan Holiday is going to be sprinting back into the pits early. 3 players left alive for Damage.
And what this does right here is it opens up that Dorito side a lot for the 187 guys, because now that can's not looking across the field, they're really light over on that side. So 187 now has 2 bodies over on that Dorito side, 1 up in the Dorito 3, 1 at the Dorito corner, and it looks like they're gonna fill across with 3 bodies over there. So what needs to happen here, as you're looking on your screen, is we need to stay alive on this Snake side and let those guys go to work over there on that Dorito side and try to get some kills. We're coming up on 2 minutes left in the game, so they need to make something happen within the next minute in order to stay in the game.
Yeah, they need to make it happen sooner than that probably, because Damage, you know, does a really good job on the break of staying alive. They're going to need to give themselves as much time as possible to try and fight if they can win this point right here. But, you know, here comes that attack, like you're saying, down the Dorito side, and a good job of getting Jacob Edwards out of that Snake side can. Dalton Vanderbilt looks like he gets shot as well. So
it's a 4-on-1 right now.
They want to hurry up and close out this game.
If they can close this out, this shows a lot of gumption for upTon 187 crew, down by 2 with 1:28. They need to close it out fast, man. This is it. They've got to close this game out and keep as much time on as possible.
Zaleski better go running for that flag.
Burning time. He's not.
Yeah, Zaleski has got to sprint in here. I mean, maybe he's tired. Zaleski's playing all the points, but still, with 1:12, that is a tall order, man.
Yeah.
Even to put 1 point on the board with 1:12. Ryan, what play would you run with 1:12?
I'd get up into that X really quick. I'd almost take, you kind of got to get out wide on both sides. It's not going to hurt. I know the point differential is going to be a bit of an issue if they don't win it, but getting up into that X really quickly and try to get some shots on these the can or this Snake side temple. Also, getting out on the Snake side is going to be massive. If you get out there, you put a lot of that pressure on these inside guys, and you can have someone fill underneath you and get into the Snake. Now, we saw over there that the Dorito side is kind of what broke the whole game open by getting them into, you know, effectively into their Dorito 3. But and I think that you can win that game from over there. But you've seen so many huge moves, 2, 3, 4 kills coming out of that center X. So you get up there, you know, put the stall on Dalton a little bit if he's up there with you. But they need to go up that center.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing, like yesterday, you know, when we played Damage, you know, we both like to go up in there, you know, pretty quickly, and it seemed like after a while, Dalton and Trevor just kept running into each other, you know, up there in the middle of the field, and, you know, it's just like you really kind of, if you're upTon 187 right now, expect Dalton to try and make that move, or Edwards, just try and slow him up a little bit, try and keep him from getting in there right away.
Yeah, so before we head to potentially the final point, let's check in with Lauren Kelly. She has an update from the Challengers field.
Hey guys, real quick before we see if 187 can tie this up, I wanted to let you know that Thunder won 5-3 against CEP, and then Heat won 7-2 against Excessive, making Heat undefeated in the prelims, and Excessive didn't win 1 match in the prelims. Now let's get back to this.
Well, Excessive lost a lot of firepower on the Snake side for them, so I could see why they struggled at this event, still in that rebuilding stage for Excessive. And Heat looking really good, man. Looking like we could potentially see them back up, and that's exactly what we expected them to do. So here we go. Can upTon 187 crew tie this game up?
187 taking the Snake corner and the X. Look at that.
You called it.
Did they get my my playbook or what?
Did you text them the play down there or what?
I
Because
did.
that's exactly what they did.
I actually put it up on Twitter.
So, well, they did. They made it out alive. Now comes part 2. Can they actually try to get some kills? Problem for them, they didn't shoot anybody off the break. No. And now under a minute left, they've got to launch. They have no choice.
Well, what the problem is, they have this Snake side can playing straight ahead. What he needs to do is come underneath Zaleski, who's in the corner, did all the work, got out there. He needs to get up into the Snake. this wing is not an offensive position.
Well, and Mantoni got shot out of that center, so Zaleski's going to do a desperation dive out of that back corner bunker.
Yeah, he's tired.
Yeah, Zaleski's huffing and puffing over here, and time's ticking off, man. They need to start gunning up and trying to make something happen. They have no choice but to push forward, and here comes the attack from upTon 187 crew. Everyone's running and gunning. Oh, Lazat dies out of his bunker as he was trying to make something happen by gunfighting, and here comes Zaleski. Exhausted but still pushing forward. He might have taken one. He does, and so does Derula. So it's actually Derula. Yeah, so Derula was trying to push forward, and Tampa Bay Damage.
With 5 alive.
Yeah, 5 alive. So they took everything that 187 had on that attack and gave it right back. So congratulations to Tampa Bay Damage, who was going to take this victory over the upstart 187 crew. And that score is going to be 4-3. Another close match, man. We've seen a lot of close matches out here this weekend.
That's too bad I couldn't send them what to do after they got to their spots. I could only get so much information over to the pits.
Twitter
in
went
that 2-minute break.
You only have so many characters to work with on Twitter. You know?
They have a live feed to the webcast, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'll give them the whole breakdown on the next go around.
I mean, we could set that up. So if anyone out there works at Twitter, hit me up on Facebook.
I think I'm going to stay up here and call games. Can you go down and coach Vicious real quick?
Yeah, so now that takes Damage to 2-0-1. So they got a tie and 2 wins. They still have to play Impact later on this afternoon. Impact went 2-0 yesterday, but we're going to watch X Factor take on Impact. Must-win situation for X Factor. They don't want to put themselves in a situation like they were earlier on in the last year, where they played in some relegation matches. And those games will be going down tomorrow morning, man. I know that the pros, as we're watching some of the highlights from this last matchup, but the pros hate to play in those relegation matches, and of course, because if you lose, you go down to the Challengers Division. But to me, those are some of the most entertaining games to watch, because you really are seeing teams literally fight for their professional lives, or at least their champion division professional lives. Challengers Division is a professional division too, but the level of play down there's a reason why that exists, is what allows teams to tier up. Man, so the next game coming at you in just a few moments, but before we get to it, let's check in with Lauren Kelly down on the sideline.
Thanks, Maddie. I'm here with Jason Edwards of Damage. Congratulations. You guys just won 4-3 against 187. Now, yesterday you won one and you tied one. How did you feel overall about your performance, though?
Yesterday, I think we played okay. It's just that we weren't really communicating as a team and weren't playing as a team. Individually, we were all playing rather well. So we knew by fixing that and playing more as a team today, we'll do a lot better today.
How is communication on this field? I know it's tough to see what's going on across the field. There are a lot of blind spots, but how's the communication?
Communication is really hard on this field, and it's extremely important. The field's slow, so you got to know when the other team makes a move, and you're going to have to know what to do to make your team make the move. So communication's rough on this field, but it's probably the most important thing.
All right, well, you won your first match on day 2. Next up, we have Impact versus X Factor. Impact's undefeated so far. Do you think they're going to win it, or is X Factor going to get a win?
X Factor, like I said, they're always a bipolar team, and I think after yesterday's games, they're going to come in today and play extremely well, so I think X Factor's going to take it.
All right, we'll see if Jason's right. Thank you. Stay tuned. Impact versus X Factor up next.